What up, YouTube? You want to say it this time?
Oh, hi.
Episode. Do you know what episode it is?
68.
Yeah, okay.
Good job,
Atiana's
Atiana.
on. She just typed it, that's why. I would have forgotten too.
I'm scrolling.
You're welcome, America.
Yeah, episode 68. Welcome back. Well, we may have dogs barking, we may have kids yelling.
You know,
Jamie
it is what it is.
yelling.
So it's
Adina
life.
chewing, me burping. And then
I'm being perfect.
reprimanding.
Atiana, your hair is so shiny. I'm like, it looks so. Did you put a mask or something on it?
I did
Yeah,
last
it
night.
looks really good.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
use raw sugar.
Yeah. Oh, see, I was like,
Raw sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Like just straight
No,
sugar.
it's the name of the
That's the
brand.
brand.
Yeah.
Oh,
come on,
that's
Mario,
stupid.
get with it.
The names. Hey, babe, YouTube's watching, but you may take a couple pictures of him up here because we had Mila and we did puppies and podcasts, so we'll do it part 2.
We had puppies on social media, y'all.
So,
Puppies are always good for
Exactly.
social
yeah,
media.
exactly.
Picture right now.
So,
She's
all right, ready?
Yes.
3,
2.
1.
Hold on. Just kidding. I need to close my email.
Why do you always ask us if we're ready?
And you're the one that's
Then
not
you
ever
start
ready.
counting and you're never ready.
3, 2. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Made for More Consulting Podcast. Mario here with Adina, Atiana, Jamie, Ashley, and Nugget.
Who's Nugget?
Nugget.
You know that's one of those words.
That you don't like, or
One
what?
of my
Nugget?
words is nugget.
Nugget.
Yeah, because it sounds like a piece of turd.
But
that's
I
stuck in the
remember,
ground.
like, years ago, probably 15 years ago, like, it was a common thing for people to call, like, their unborn babies nuggets. My little
Really?
nugget. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well,
Because it's like a little chicken nugget, you know?
yeah. Welcome to the podcast,
Yeah.
everybody.
That's what I
We talked
think.
about
Nugget
poop
is Ash's
and
dog.
dogs. Oh, and Sam's here, my daughter. Made for More Consulting Podcast, where we talk leadership and personal development to help you lead those around you better, but learning to lead yourself first. Episode 68, we're on the book Leading on Empty, and we have one more episode left after this. This is probably my favorite section.
Yeah, this is a good section.
So
Lots of like how-tos and like practical things that you can do, and I really like that. And you know what? When I was reading through it, I thought some of these seem so basic, but when you're in the middle of struggling, I think you forget how important some of these like just easy things are.
that's exactly right. That's how I felt too. Going, why don't we do this more often?
Yeah,
Or
you
why don't we
should.
remind why don't
Well,
we remind ourselves
Yes,
more?
when I was reading through it, that's what I was thinking about. Is I think these were also like really good things to ask somebody who's struggling. How are you sleeping? Are you
Yep.
exercising? Are you putting your family first? Some of the things that he talks about throughout,
Very practical.
very practical, and it's kind of like a yes or a no. And I think that that's super important. So let's go.
No, I mean, if you haven't, this is the first time listening.
Oh, that's what you're trying to like signal me across. I know. I'm like, what are you
What?
doing?
Not me.
My drink.
That's like Atiana said, how come you're always asking us if we are ready and then you're the one that's not ready?
Whatever. YouTube, if you want to.
This is your first time listening.
Go back and listen to episode 65, where we talk about Made for More. And if you want to watch the YouTube version, I think our last one got kicked off at YouTube for some reason, so we're going to try to post it back up there.
I think that's what we should start tracking, are like the people watching YouTube. Is that going up? We should
well,
start.
I think so. I mean,
start
I think
sharing it a
interviews.
little more. Yeah.
Interviews usually typically go up, and then my mom mentioned that I was high, and so everybody tended to watch the next one, which I wasn't. I was just tired that night at your house, and everybody thought we were high.
There's no
Oh,
me to that. It was
it's 4:20.
you.
I forgot it's 4:20. That's why my sister asked me. Right? She asked me, but no pot smoking here. We're
No.
just podcasting. So here we go. Episode 68.
started.
We do not read the entire book, so go pick up this book, Leading on Empty by Wayne Cordero. Refilling your tank and renewing your passion. So.
And one of the things we've talked about the last couple episodes is this is a book written about ministry, but it is one of those books that you can take out the word ministry, substitute the word business or whatever it is.
Yep.
The principles are the same no matter what your job is.
Yeah, and if you aren't someone who goes, hey, I don't read the Bible much, there's a few verses in there you can just skim over, but I would say it's still some great wisdom from people that have went through burnout.
And that's what I love, is that he is writing this book from his own personal experience.
Yes, it is. So, chapter 7, the new perspective. So before we get started, I'm going to ask you, have you ever had a stress test?
No.
You never had?
I feel like that's only for older people.
I'm just asking. He
Yeah.
wasn't that old.
Well, but he thought he was having heart problems.
Okay. So
You
have
know.
you ever had?
I say that, but Darren's had a stress test.
Okay. So
Yeah.
my question to you though is,
Yeah.
have you ever been? When's the most you've been stressed in your life? The stress the most in your life?
Well,
There has to be.
there's totally multiple years of my life that were extremely stressful. So
Continuously or just one time?
continuously. But like if like a one-time stressful, probably when our house got hit by a tornado. Like after it got hit, there was like this time period where it was just like everything was happening so fast, but it was in slow motion, you know. And I didn't feel stressed. Like I felt really calm.
Yeah.
But I think it was a lot of stress. You
Okay.
know, just in that moment, making sure everybody was okay, and you know that whole thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So no stress test for you.
No.
Darren took a stress test.
Yes. Yes.
Because
It was anxiety. He was having anxiety
he
attacks.
carries it different than you do, though. You let things roll most
Oh
of the time.
yeah, he just clenches it all in and let it go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we're very different in that regards.
I think that happened to.
Could bring up the Enneagram.
It happened to me.
Did you have a stress test?
No, I thought I was having a heart attack that one time. One time it was because of stress. The other time was because I got hit with a golf ball in the ribs.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember one time.
Meeting out there?
I was you were at the meeting out there, and you're like,
When?
Laying on
Guys.
the beanbag
Oh,
chair.
that was-
in,
Yeah,
it was like last
a freaking
April.
Golf ball. That
Yeah.
was a year ago.
Yeah.
Because it came up in my time hop where I was trying to
yeah, we were like,
watch Raps.
are you sure
shot.
you're okay?
And he freaking hit that thing hard, and I told that story today to a guy that I was meeting with, and it left a bad mark on my ribs. And then Jay
I'm sure
Mayo's
your
wife.
wife.
Jay Mayo's wife is a nurse, and she's like, I think you need to go to the hospital. I was like, no, I think it's the golf ball. I just can't catch my breath. My daughters thought I was having a heart attack. They started crying. So, anyways,
God.
stress tests. Anyways, I was just curious. So, he talks about new perspective, and I think this is one of my favorite things I've learned in this book that I continue to use with clients is the eyes and the brain. Your eyes do not see what you, or your eyes see something, but your brain is going to be the one that tells yourself and decides is this positive or negative. So is this either fear or peace? And we have to decide how we see certain circumstances. This can lead us away from depressing thoughts, or it can lead us to depression quickly, meaning something happens at work and you become stressed, or you go, hey, here's an opportunity. It's not your eyes, it's your brain that's processing things that happen.
Right. He kind of like talks about how your eyes are just like, you could think of your eyes as a filter for
Yep.
what you see something through. And I thought like very, very practical. I wear contacts or glasses, and I thought that's so true because I can, when I'm looking at something without my glasses, I feel like I can see it. Like I can make it out. I know who it is. I know what it is. I can usually even read things. But it's not until I put my glasses on and then I'm like, oh wow, like I didn't even realize like how much clearer it could have been.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that sometimes we think something is true or something is right, whether it's that fear or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We think that that's you know what is actually in front of us, but it's
Yeah.
not until you know kind of change your filter that you can see, oh, maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, so as a leader, as a boss, or even, I mean, any kind of person, when you see or you come into a circumstance with either your team or yourself, I would say don't overreact. Let things play out. Let your brain kind of process things. And I think that's why I went to this next question to ask ourselves, when something happens, I mean, there's people in our lives that I know that we work with and have worked with that need a day or two to process things, right?
Well,
and
and you
then
know,
some of us react quick, or
Right.
some of us can respond in a positive way.
but I think
something
when something
negative.
happens, I think that it does take time for you to process it, and you're going to process it through whatever filter it is. If you have, if you're triggered in some area or you've had a bad experience, you're going to process it different than somebody else. But I also think about that is that you can't invest energy into something if it hasn't happened.
True.
You know,
Don't make up
and-
stories, right?
Right, and so I think so many times something happens and we tend to go down this like whole trail of something that could possibly maybe sort of maybe happen, and you invest all of this energy into that when really just focus on where you are right now, what's right
True.
in front of you.
Yeah, that's true. And as a leader, if you're leading a team, if you're a negative person and your team is not, and you see the circumstances negative, you're going to portray negativity all over because that's what you're seeing. You have to somehow have that new perspective that he's talking about to say, okay, I can either think about this negative or positive. And one, personally, that can lead you to depression. Two, it can lead others into a place where you go, I really don't want to work here because it's a negative.
Well, and one of the things
environment.
we say, or I've heard you say, is be solution oriented.
Mhm.
You know, and so no matter what it is,
Dictate the situation.
yes, let's focus on the solution,
Yep.
not the problem.
Yeah, and so he keeps going on in this chapter, and he calls consider your calling. Consider your calling. So he tells us that when depressions and storms come, because they are, right? They're hitting. We got to remind ourselves of our calling, because that's the foundation that you stand on. What is your purpose? What's your calling in life? So that when the storms come in life, whether it's for your team, your business, your family, your life, you come back to that and you focus on what is my purpose in life, because that is what you stand on to go. If everything else falls in the storm, what can I go back to and go, this is what I was called to do? And that's what I believe you can lean back on to go, if all this falls apart, what have I been called to do? And for me, it's just empowering people. Wake up and empower people. Don't get worried about all the other crap.
Well, in last week's episode, we talked about the 5%, like knowing what
That's right.
your 5%. I think this is one of those times that your calling and your purpose. You don't have to look at it as like work related. It really could be like go back and look at what is important to you.
Mhm.
You know what are those roles that only you can fill?
Yep.
Because that 5%, that's what's going to bring you back.
Yep.
You know, whenever the depression hits.
And so like today I met with a couple of clients and they were having a rough day, but that's what we did is we're not going to talk about work. Let's go back to life and just say, who were you created to be? And that's the purpose. And so zero in on, and I think later it's going to be an action step that we do have. I think it's going to be the first action step, which is zero in and write this down. Go back to your 5%, right? Or go, hey, what is my purpose in life? Like, who am I supposed to be? If you're someone who's spiritual, who has God created me to be and called me to do? Or what has he called me to do? So
And
I
we
think you write
also,
that down.
we also talked this. Think your values kind of come in, which we
Yeah,
also talked
exactly.
about last week. Is
Yeah.
know your values and know what it is inside of you and how God created you.
Yeah, his quote said, if you've lost something valuable, you may have to start all over again. Begin with your original calling. That will give you direction for the rest. And again, in the end, this chapter is challenging our perspective when things happen. Do we choose to see the bright side, or have we allowed life to make us just jaded and angry? At the end of life, it will be too late to go back and have a positive influence on others. I told this to Jamie this week, and I think I got to tell everybody that's listening. Whatever happens before we start this podcast, last week in particular, I was listening to it again, and I knew I was in a negative space because it comes off dry and it comes off talking hurtful about specific people, not a group of people, not a specific person, but a group of people.
Like when you were making fun of your wife last week.
Did I make fun of my
Oh,
wife?
you did.
No, I didn't.
I'll take up for her. Yes, you
I
did.
don't remember that.
Oh, I do.
Anyways,
You,
say?
yeah, because that's what you do when you're kind of in more
I make
of a
fun of my
negative-
wife when I'm angry.
You're
No,
more-
I do not.
Okay, we can discuss this
Anyways.
off the air later.
But what I was saying is, again, when I see things, when I'm seeing things with my brain, right? I'm going, okay, I need to process in a positive way. It's the same thing. Getting ready for the podcast in a tangible way for me is to go, I got to eliminate the negative talk. I don't want to talk about certain things. I need to distance myself from those things that are dragging me down, because it doesn't put me in a better place. And so you got to choose to see a different perspective.
Absolutely. And you have to make that choice. I think that's one of those choices you have to make no matter what,
Yeah.
So chapter 8, 7 lessons hard learned.
Yeah, this is, and then again, like you said it earlier, Dina, he is talking about his life, and it's cool that he can share these. I doubt these are easy things to write down, but I know that when I read through them, we've probably walked through some of these. And he's coming out of burnout quickly, and he went back right into work, started the same flow that he thought he could run into, and then he went right back down, and his body shut down. Like, his body shut down because he said, hey, just give me something. Can you not just give me something? He said, no, you're going to die. You're going to end up killing yourself. And he went back home and had to stay down for 2 weeks. So we have to remember as leaders that when we learn a lesson through failure, that we don't repeat that lesson. That we learn, maybe we make a note, or we help other people to see, hey, we can't do this again. One of our clients, one of their GMs said, don't trip over the same rock the second time around. I don't know. He was making us laugh because he said, hey, the first week, once you kick it out of the way, don't trip over it next week. So all these old school sayings. But yeah, 7 hard lessons learned. Number one, we don't have to go like
Okay,
in
yeah.
detail, but
Right. Do not overproduce.
yeah, you can't go 24/7 because yeah, you're not gonna be around for a while. What did I say? As leaders, we cannot lead our team, volunteers, and staff. Oh well, yeah, that's the other way. So if I'm going 24/7 and I expect my team to do that, we're taking them away from their family, their talents, and we're expecting them to show up all the time, and you're not gonna lead a successful staff that way.
Well, and you're not going to have a successful family that way either.
Yeah.
You know, the other things in your life, whether it's your relationship with God, a family, your health, nothing else is going to be successful if you are pouring into your work 24/7.
Yeah, and it goes into what you just said goes into the next little point.
Yes.
Work will always be there.
Yes.
It's always going to be there. Think about it. If you create an attitude and culture to give it 100%, but you build in the boundaries and you take your people and your production to a higher level, then it's going to work. But if you're constantly at work, just trying to work and overwork, work's always going to be there, and then you're going to be stuck and burn out.
Well, I think it's why, you know, a lot of the bigger, like, you know, corporate offices now, you know, I just watched a thing on like Google and how they have like nap rooms, and they do that because they know that you can't work. You can't.
Yeah, no, I got you.
You cannot work 24/7. You have to have it. You're more productive if you set boundaries and have breaks.
Yeah, that's weird. I just don't want to coddle people. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, but I'm like,
Like
no,
I get the creative idea of having a nap room, but being able to give them ownership to go, hey, if you need a break, go home or work from home.
Or, yeah, well, and like, and this girl, what like she talked about, she did really good. She like documented her day. Like she went in at 9, she grabbed some breakfast on the way in, she worked for several hours. Then she, you know, she had a lunch meeting, she took a nap, she went back to work, and then she had a dinner meeting. I mean, you know, and so, you know, it was one of those, she's just needed a hot minute.
That's cool.
Which,
and we go into that later, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that is, I think letting them, it may be easier for somebody to take a 20-minute nap than to go home.
Yeah.
You know, some people may need to go home for the afternoon. We need to take a week off. That's okay.
Okay.
You
You
know?
take naps?
Sometimes, not usually. There has to be, like, I have to, like, not have slept or something. But,
I was
no,
curious.
I mean,
Okay. Lesson 2.
I don't know.
Hard lesson number 2. Steward
Your
your energy.
energy.
A leader's greatest asset is not necessarily time, it's energy.
I love that.
I know, right? It's a mindset
Love
shift
that.
change that it's not about, because he said the same thing with love. People go, hey, how do you spell love? T-I-M-E. No, it's energy, because you're and it's not about the vibe energy. No, it's about your energy that you're giving to
It's
other
so
people.
true. It is
Yeah.
so true.
Exactly.
And that's why some people can work 6 hours a day and some people can work 10 hours a day and get the same amount accomplished.
But it's exactly
Because
what you said.
It's your energy. It's,
Just like Google, though.
yeah.
If you can dial in where you're most effective,
yes.
it's just like working out. Hey, I do great in the morning rather than the evening.
Yes.
Well, then make it your most efficient time. And then when are you creative the most in your mind and your writing or whatever?
Yes.
If it's in the morning, then document that
Yes.
like she did.
Actually, we just had this discussion about having a meeting, and we all agreed to have the meeting an hour before work started because we are all early morning people, and we're like, we would rather give our best to this meeting, and that's a different mindset, you know, than like, well, we don't start work till 9, we can't have a meeting.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna give our best when we
That's
have
good.
it. But it's energy. It's all
Use
about
your
your
energy wisely. Yeah. He challenges us to expend our energy in areas that we must, and not something that will, drag us down. Do not use your energy all at work because, again, your relationships at home, your community, it's going to suffer. And he gives 7 areas he spends most of his energy. I don't know why I wrote that. He gives 7 areas he spends with.
Yeah.
And I didn't write them down, but
That's okay.
go back and read it. There you
Go back and we don't read the
yeah,
whole
we
book.
don't read the whole book. So lesson 3.
Yes, rest well, my friend. So this was interesting.
This is another one that's going to make your mindset shift, change. So number 2 is, love is not time, it's energy. And this one is, you begin your day not
at night.
At night.
I read that like 3 times.
I love
like
this.
trying to like go through
I
it.
love
Your
this.
day starts when you go to bed.
Yeah, because it
Baffling
goes
to me.
into the morning. So you start and what does he say? He says, don't shortcut or don't shortchange yourself by waking up early. Go to sleep early because when you wake up, you're more energized So really, your day starts tonight at 9 p.m. or
Your
8
day
p.m.
starts when you go to bed.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I still am like, huh,
Yep.
interesting.
One of the craziest things that I've seen since following Jocko, so he wakes up at 4:30, 4:36. He's always in the gym. This week he put his watch on social media and said 4:36, and then it said 6:10.
I saw that.
He said he got up and then he went back to bed. And
I was like,
wow.
oh, he's sick. He's got COVID.
However,
I mean, like, I've never seen that. He
however,
never
he,
does that.
He owned it. I mean,
But
he's
he
not trying to tell everybody
Yeah.
he has to do. No,
He said,
he's-
I needed some rest.
he needed some rest. So he
So-
talks about scheduling rest.
Yes, I will say one of the things he talks about is like basically don't use an alarm, like get up when your body tells you to.
I forgot to try that last night.
Okay, so I do not use an alarm. Like I have almost never used an alarm. I only use an alarm if we're like traveling and I have to get up at like
Yeah.
way different. Because I have dialed in on that. Like,
I'm gonna try that
You
tonight.
have to, yeah.
So if I don't wake up in the morning,
Okay.
Adam Adams.
But
we
you
have
know,
a meeting,
but what
so-
happens is if you're listening to your body and you're starting your day
Yeah,
at
in the
night, then you naturally will wake up. Your body naturally creates its own rhythm.
Yeah.
So
And it's rest.
it's rest.
Yeah, that's good.
Like
So
that.
he talks about sleep when he's talking about rest, but then he also says schedule rest, whether it's vacation, rest days, and please use your PTO. If you don't know if your company
And-
offers PTO, or if you're an owner or boss and you don't give PTO, you're probably running your people ragged and they probably don't think much about you. So
I would like to know as as a made for more consultant, like how much PTO would you recommend
we just went over this with Slab.
somebody give?
We just went over this with Slab because what Slab was doing, and I think this is okay to talk about if they listen to this, which they do. But like they were just giving their time. Hey, you need time off? Go for it. Take a couple days. But for us, like we just discussed, hey, we got to have this in the handbook. And so they asked what I thought, and I said, okay, one, you have to be full time, and full time in that industry for them was 35 hours. Like, okay, for us, where I came from, it was 48. You have to work 48 hours a week, or 40. But either way, so one, full time. You got to give time so that we can give time. So make sure you're averaging at least 35 hours a week. So once you average 35 hours a week, we're going to give you back, I would say, I think, what was it? We decided on 5 to 7 days after 6 months. So at the end of the year, you should probably have a good 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
but here's the other thing you got to remember: you're off on Easter. We give 2 mental health. Slab gives 2 mental health 3 days, so you have 6 days.
So what
for
do you
mental
think
health.
about the companies that just give like unlimited time off?
If you get your work done, go
Yeah.
for it.
Because I
Because
think
it's a boss trying. If you're controlling, you, intentions, right? You can smell
Yeah.
it from a mile away. If I come in and you're interviewing me, and you say, hey, and I go, hey, Adina, what's up with the time off? And you say, oh, it's on your own basis as long as you get your stuff done. For me, that means I'm going to come check in with you voluntarily.
Right.
I'm going to come and check in and say, hey, Adina, I'm thinking about going to Midland next week. Do you mind if I take my work and get this stuff done? And you go, hey, don't worry about work. I'm going, what? But I want to. That's one way of doing it. But the other part is if I have to check in with you 24/7, and you said here's how many days you have, and you want to constantly know where I'm at, there's an issue. There's control.
Yeah, because I think like right now we don't have to discuss like anything too personal with this, but you know I have a couple of weeks off a year, and it is not near enough because of the life that I like, because of all my other priorities
And things you want to do,
and
right?
the things I want to do. And so like, and I think that, and that's a give and take. I love my job, so I'm okay with that. But that is something like I'm seeing more and more as, you know, I go through this. And I think as people kind of grow and you're like, well, you need to rest and you need to take care of your family. And you need to, like, I have my friends I want to go spend time with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've already used all, but by mid-June, I will have used all of my days.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's
And I have really done nothing.
Mhm.
Like, you know, it's just because I
and you have
an
major
active life.
certain days you have to be there that most people have off. So
Yeah.
I think that's interesting because having maybe to talk
Right.
with.
Well, I'm
their
just gonna say
supervisor.
that that's one of those things I feel like, depending on if what size your business is or where you are, like do what's right for your employees.
Yep.
You know, and I think if you do give unlimited time off, I think it's like what you said though. You can't say you can have off, but then I'm gonna text you 3 times and ask you to do all
Yep.
these things for me.
Yeah.
Because that's not
There
time
has to be
off.
an understanding
Yeah.
of, hey, I'm going to Midland
Yeah.
and I'm on my phone and I'm on my computer. I'm actually just working off site. Or hey, I'm taking vacation. And so
I was just talking to one of my friends, and she was talking about time off, and she said she has like 3 weeks a year, but their rule is that if you are off and anybody from work texts you, emails you, or calls you, you do not have to take that day. I was like, that would really make people rethink contacting you on your day off.
Yeah. And as an employee,
so she's like, okay.
As an employee, think through what your boss and your owners have to go through, and try not to contact them. And then as a boss or an owner, and as a leader,
can it wait?
Let your people breathe a little bit. Like, let them have some time off. Yeah. And if you can't, then here's what I'd say. Then you're doing a poor job on the front side before they leave. Yes. And I mean, we can get into all that, which we don't have to, but
no, we don't have to do that.
Create what's happening when you're gone. Let people know who to contact.
But I think I have to do my part when I take off. I have to make sure everything's taken care of, and so there's no reason for anybody to contact me on my side of the road.
Yep, that's right. So
now that we've totally talked about that way more than we should have.
But work again is the same thing that we said earlier. Work is always going to be there, even if you pass away. It's still going to be there. Somebody else is going to do it. So be responsible with your life and energy.
Number 4, exercise your way to recovery.
This one's interesting too. Exercise is not just for your physical health. It's for mental health. Studies have shown that it can create more of an impact than medication. I thought that was interesting. There was 2 or 3 studies that said, hey, exercise does more than your medication for depression.
For sure.
It cuts it in half.
For sure.
It can do more. But it also kickstarts your self-esteem, which will lead to, hey, I have more self-esteem, which I'm not depressed.
Well, I think that's why, like, your body will naturally take, like, if you go back in time, you know, like, your body will take care of these things on its own. Yes, it's so true. Exercise raises all of your, you know, your serotonin level. It does all of that, you know. And
I know that we have people who have chemical imbalances, right? Legit. Whether they're not eating what they need to be eating or whether they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I know medication helps some of those. Well, but back in the day, they didn't have some of these things.
So, but it talked about, like, one of the books that I read about this a long time ago talked about how right now how we're such a depressed and anxious society. But what they kind of came back and said is back in the olden days when you really had to work for everything, when you were like really plowing your fields and planting your crops, and you had to walk 1.5 miles to go into town, all of those things. That's how your body got all of those chemicals. You know, because you were working, you were exercising, you were doing all of that, and now we don't do that. We sit in an office.
You order your groceries.
We order our groceries. We sit in an office. We sit on the couch and watch Netflix. Like there's none. We're not. Even if we do exercise, you should exercise. They're like, okay, so what? 20 minutes a day? Like, I mean, you know, a lot of people. It's one thing. It's an hour of their day at most.
I hear you.
And so you're not getting the right chemicals.
The stress levels and the things that you're dealing with are outweighing what that exercise should be able to do. And so page 131, he says some things about exercise your way to recovery. You want to read the first? He just says you know which one I'm talking about?
Right here, down here.
I'll read the top ones.
Okay.
He says reduce stress. So this is what exercise does: reduce stress and anxiety and depression, boost your sagging self-esteem. Wow. Bring a sense of well-being. It brings a sense of well-being. It produces a brighter outlook on life, and it improves sleep.
Yes, exercise also has these health benefits. Strengthens the heart, makes the body better able to use oxygen, builds energy level, lowers blood pressure, improves muscle tone and strength, helps reduce body fat, makes you look fit and healthy and feel better about yourself.
And again, this one's a tough one for a lot of us, but what I would say, because I think we think that's the way I want to be, or that's the way I want to look, or that's the way it should be. It's not that way for any of us. It's just pick what you can do and start small. Like we've said, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Again, 15-minute walk a day for 3 times a week, or once a week, or whatever, and just start working yourself up to a jog. You can do 5-minute HIIT workouts. You can pick something that you enjoy and ask someone to join you so that you're not doing it alone. Specifically, I'd rather work out alone. And shout out to one of our clients, Mark. He's lost over, I don't even know how many, maybe 60, 70 pounds. If you go look at some of the things at Slab at the beginning and where he's at now, completely different. So
awesome.
Again, exercise your way to recovery.
Yes.
Lesson 5.
Eat your way to a good life.
I don't even know if I wrote this down that I can speak to this, because Food is
This
my
is
love
not
language.
this is not your strength.
Food
in
is
the-
my love language.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and I think that it is, that's kind of the same thing in that book I was talking about that I read before. They said the same thing, is that, back in the olden days, we ate very whole foods.
Mhm.
We didn't have all the processed foods.
Yeah.
And so you were eating all of the things that your body naturally needed. And so this says eat foods that are high in nutrients, fill your plate with delicious antioxidants, the calming effect of smart carbs, how that when you eat carbs, it does boost some things in your body.
Or dumb carbs.
Yeah.
Because that's what I eat.
Yeah,
Just eat
yes,
tortillas
yes.
like crazy.
And eat protein-rich foods that boost alertness.
Steak.
Basically, if eat healthy, it'll make your body feel better.
Yeah, I struggle with that. Because I don't want to. At that area of my life is I don't want to. What's
At
funny is
least
that you
you
can take
acknowledge it.
discipline that you have somewhere else and apply it in these other areas, but I just don't want to.
Well, but you rationalize it saying that you work out twice a day so you can eat what you want,
True.
because that's what you'll say. Discipline equals freedom as you're eating your tater tots.
I eat a,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Lesson 6 that he said is a hard lesson learned is recharge daily. Basically put, if we each have 24 hours in a day that we have to work with, if we don't use some for ourselves, then you're going to give away the rest of yourself to everyone else. Take time to reset and reflect.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do that in the morning, in the evening. I know typically you get to work early.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with me.
Yeah.
Most of us get up early. Jamie has been recently leaving early, and I'll either go meet with a client and then afterwards just spend at least 35 to 45 minutes reading or just by myself.
Yes, now that my kids are getting a little bit older, I'm also like in the afternoons I love to sit outside, and I'll just sit outside
Yeah.
by the pool or like out in the front yard and just sit with the dogs and just really not do anything,
Mhm.
which I think is kind of a new thing. Like we'll just all sit there and like I read this afternoon, and it's just different.
It's changing your mind to go, I can either sit there and just veg out, which sometimes is good, but like if you're in the car and
What-
you're listening to a book,
Yeah.
or if you can let your mind think while you're
Yeah, I do.
driving, that's what I'm saying is
I just do
change
that.
your mindset about
Yeah.
where you're at when you have time.
Well, and I think I just thought, what's more important right now? Is it, finishing the dishes, doing all of that, or you know what, I can do that later. Like that's not gonna make me a better mom, or
There you go.
so
That's good. So lesson 7,
fight for your family.
he says the darkest part of a lighthouse is at its base, which means the closest part to the lighthouse is the darkest, meaning it shines out to everyone, but when you get closest to the lighthouse, it's dark. As leaders and examples in our community, we have to protect the home front. That's who we're with most of the time, because when our career's over, they're the ones that are going to be stuck with you and by you, and either you're going to have them by your side or they're not going to be there. So we must fight for our family, because most people fight for your time, your energy, and money, but they don't fight for your family. And I thought that was really clever what he said, is most of his congregation fought for his time, his energy, and his money, but they didn't fight for his family, and he had to do that. So
But yeah, I think that's one of those things you hear about a lot is, like, well, your kids are going to be grown, so make sure that you date your spouse or you stay with your spouse, because, and I get it. I think it's the same thing, is that you do, your family is your core, whether it's your immediate family or your extended family, or the
Yeah.
people that you make your family. Those
Yeah.
are the relationships that are most important.
that's good. Definitely 7 hard lessons learned that we must learn from him and write those down. And if there's one you struggle with most, again, mine's food, and I would definitely try to get better on that if I wanted to.
But you don't want to.
I
so
don't want to.
that's okay.
Tonight, I'm going to work on the one with I'm going to try to turn the alarm off just to see if I wake up.
You will.
If I don't, I'm going to freak out.
Yeah.
I'm going to wake up every hour thinking that it's time to get up. Then I'll be really tired
That's
tomorrow.
the worst.
Yeah. So chapter 9, last chapter of the day, finding the way back home. You want to read that quote?
Waiting for depression to end before you begin to live will only compound the problem and draining the batteries of your soul.
There you go. So what he's trying to say is start moving, take steps,
Yes,
and
it's
trust
like
the way back home.
don't wait until you feel better to do something. Don't wait until you're done being depressed to, exercise, eat right, fight for your family. Any of those things that we read, I think that's one of the, you have to make the choice to do something even if you don't feel like it.
There you go. Make sure that you're moving forward. This is probably my favorite chapter because he challenges us and he says, imagine, and this is one of the action steps. He just says, imagine your ideal future. Like right now, what is your ideal future? Write it down, and how can it be best attained? and then he talks about 4 questions that probably Adina and I would say different. They're on page 148. So he's first, again, write down your ideal future, and then how can it best be attained.
Yeah, he says, how do you want to be seen in 10 years?
And I put, who do you want to be
Who do you wanna
known
be?
for, and who, yeah.
What do you want to be good or known for?
I think that one's good.
Yeah, okay. What kind of personality do you want to have?
Character.
Yes, your character. And what do you want your family to look like?
Yeah, and I think those are 4 good questions to
Yeah.
ask yourself. But I think the key here is visualizing that actual ideal future. Because when I read this the very first time, and then the second time, I thought, I want to do that. Like, what does my future look like? And then write it down, and then go, okay, how do I take that and break that down even more to go daily, monthly, quarterly? How do I make this happen?
I tried to do this for a while. This was is like you write down like the 10 things about your life that you want to see in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like I want to live on a yacht. You know, it's more about your character and like you know, things that you believe about your marriage or your family or your job. And it is very interesting because it starts to change your pattern about how you see things.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like the values that you
well,
talked about.
right. Well, see, and I think like one of the things I'm realizing, and we've talked about this, is that I like gratitude is not something that makes me feel like I'm like whatever. I actually saw a Facebook post about the Enneagram that talked about that, but this because I am future oriented. So
Yeah.
everything I'm always out in the future. So this it reminds me of how people probably feel about gratitude.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is what I want for the future, and so that makes me feel like appreciative and grounded,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, that's it. That's what I want.
But most people can think about the future, but they don't write it down, and they forget what they're
Write it
pursuing.
down,
And that's
yeah.
what he's saying is that when
And go
tough
through and
times
read.
get here
Mhm.
and storms come, which we said earlier, they're going to get here, you revisit what you wrote down to go, oh, this is, and what he said is it's basically your roadmap, your GPS coordinates to go in life. This is where I want to go.
And this is what I'm fighting for.
Exactly.
This is why I do what I do.
So you write stuff down like this?
Yeah.
Where do you keep it? So
Well,
if someone's
so
asking,
the last
I'm gonna
time
write this
I
down.
did it,
How do
I wrote
keep
it in
this?
the notebook that you gave us, our Men Made for More notebook. That's
Okay.
where I start. That's my last place. But typically just in one of my journals. And that's, like I said, where most people are like, I'm going to write down what I'm thankful for. That does not bring me joy. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I feel like whatever, that's in the past. Like, let's
Yeah.
move forward.
Yeah.
And so I just write on like in whatever journal I am, and then I'll go back and I'll read it, and then I'll, you know.
Because I just want people to practically go, okay, if I write down what my future, what I want my future to be like, here's how I can attain it.
Yeah.
For me, I typically write it somewhere, and I'm like, where the freak did I put it? I would rather take a screenshot of it,
Yeah.
or put it where you're
Totally.
in the restroom, or in your book, like a bookmark, whatever you see daily, even if it's a screensaver on your freaking computer or an iPad.
Yeah, and
put it
mine a
somewhere
lot of
you're gonna
times
see
will
it.
be like the first 3 or 4 or 5 will be kind of the same thing,
Mhm.
and then some of them will be different.
And
you know.
you can put that as an alert too, right?
Yes,
to come
you
up with
can.
like an alarm
Yeah.
to remind you. I mean,
Yeah.
again, those little typical things that
Yeah.
you can practically do to go. Remember, this is who you want to be. So it's like GPS coordinates for the future.
That's good.
Write those down. Not only do you have a picture for the future, but you have to move in that direction. Here's some of the other ways and ideas that you can add to your journey as you move forward from burnout to back to life.
I love that he said get a life coach. I'm like, heck yeah, get a life coach.
And if you don't have one, you can talk to Made for
you
More.
can find one at Made for More.
4 or 5 people here that would love to Made for More consulting.
Consulting, that's so funny.
Actually, somebody texted me this week and said, hey, have you bought madeformore.com? And I said, no, it's not available. And he goes, no, it actually is. Well, then he goes, oh, wait, never mind, they're selling it. I was like, yeah, I'm not about to buy it for like $10,000.
Yeah.
Somebody's holding it for $10,000.
That's
So,
ridiculous. Yes.
anyways,
Okay, so
get a
get a
life
life
coach.
coach. Yes.
Talk to Made for More if
Yeah.
you don't have one. Email us info@madeformoreconsulting.com.
And he says, find a friend.
Yeah, just find a friend
Get
that
a
you can
friend,
go, hey,
people.
let's get better. Yeah.
Yes. Find community.
That's
Yeah.
a group of friends that you can say, hey, can we all do this together? Mentors. I like this one because it doesn't have to be someone you know. For me, Jocko, Louie, the Entree leadership, excuse me.
Yes. Just find people. Yes, that you that have gone before you.
Yeah,
You know.
YouTube videos, podcasts,
Yes.
people that you can read their books. The material to grow is out there. It's just going to be up to you to get out of the rut and start moving. And I think that's the hardest part that I see in the culture today is that there's so many ways, so many free ways to grow.
That's what I was gonna say. So much of it is free.
There's so much free stuff out there.
Just Google.
But if you don't want to grow, then you're not going to grow.
Yep.
In the end, what do you want your future to look like? Write it down, break it down,
Yes.
and go.
It's a good reminder too. When I go back and I'll read that, then I can kind of evaluate, like, have I done anything to like be a better wife, you know, or have I done anything, you know, for my kids? And
But in the end,
sometimes,
it's leading you out of burnout,
Yeah.
right? You're going, I'm a better wife.
I'm
but
focusing on where I want to go.
Yeah, and it's helping me be a better person, or wife, person, employee, boss. But you're leading yourself out of burnout, which is helping your morale and your team's morale. So, action steps. The first one I have is one of the ones that you talked about in the first chapter today, and it goes back to your 5%. What's your purpose of your life? What's your why? When the storms come, and they will, what can you fall back on and say, this is why I exist, this is what I need to focus on? And if you've been listening for all the podcasts, you'll know that this is when we say, hey, what's your why? Who do you want to be? But for new listeners, this is what we're talking about is number one, just what's your purpose in life? Write it down.
Yep.
Second one, action step tonight is what does your ideal future look like? And it's what Adina said earlier. Write that down, put it somewhere you can look at it daily, and break it down into steps to get there.
Yeah.
So,
Boom.
yeah, that's cool. Next week we have 2 chapters left to discuss. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about what we took from the book. We will have to record on a different date because I completely...
I'm so glad you said that. I'm going to a concert next Wednesday night.
What's the concert? Because I'm going to a concert too.
Well, you're not going to the same one I am, I guarantee you.
What's the concert?
I'm going to see Justin Bieber. My girls wanted to go.
That is definitely not what I'm going to see. I'm going to see
Yes,
my
you
daughter
are.
play the clarinet.
You don't want to go see Justin?
Heck no. I'm good.
I bet his concert is going to be amazing.
He's
a
a good
great entertainer.
He's a great entertainer,
Yeah.
but he's a great musically he's really good.
Yes.
So-
So we bought tickets like almost 2 years ago. So
What?
like,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Because they came on
Where is it
forever.
at?
At the Moody Center.
The new one?
I was just
Yeah, they just opened it.
Yeah.
They had a big deal with Matthew
Yeah.
McConaughey and his
Boom.
wife, and
I'll be there on Wednesday.
wow.
My Justin t-shirt.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you would think my kids were young. No, they're both grown. The 2 that were going.
Sheesh. Yeah. So next Wednesday I'll be at a concert. Are you gonna be at a concert, Etiana?
I am now.
yeah,
I'm gonna put on
I
a
think
concert.
Allie plays in a. It's her recital.
Well, there you go. You can go see Allie play the clarinet.
Oh, she's doing a dance. My bad. On my 306090 it said Allie's concert, so it's a dance. My bad. It's spring. It's a spring show.
Okay, so we'll record on a different night next week.
Yes. We'll figure it out. And then, Etiana, you want to take over?
She's ready tonight.
I was not
You're
ready
so
tonight.
ready.
You know,
Your
this
hair
is-
looks great. You're ready.
That's all
Ready?
it's about.
Can you talk into the
Y'all,
mic right there?
stop. Right here. Where am I?
You
The
got
other
it.
side.
This side?
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Oh my goodness. See, I'm very clearly not ready.
You're good. You can hear it.
I just went blank in my brain.
Talk
Okay.
about merch and
Talk about merch.
Where
So,
to find us on social
guys, you
media?
can always find merch to support Made for More on madeformoreconsulting.com. I have everything up there. I think we have 2 different shirt designs, a hat design, and we don't have stickers up there currently, but I'm more than happy to throw that up there if you guys want me to. And that's just a good way to rep your community and tell people about us. And then the other thing is follow us on social media. And that's mostly just about building community with each other. There's no better way to get connected, to talk to us, to get questions answered, figure out more about who we are than to follow us. And that's at Made for More Consulting on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I believe. And I think we even have like a LinkedIn. So you can always share us with all of your professional friends, y'all. So, and then what else? Is there anything else?
email us.
Oh, yes. Anytime you have any questions, you want to connect with us, you can always email us at info@madeformoreconsulting.com. We are more than happy to answer any of the questions you have regarding leadership, personal development, heck,
Or-
even fun
I was
questions.
like, what Mario had for dinner.
Yeah, what did Mario have for dinner? And also, I'm hungry for dinner now. What you mentioned.
Sandwiches.
Oh, really?
I had sandwiches.
Oh, nice. Well,
Yeah, you can have some. We have plenty of stuff.
I'll probably do that, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
yeah.
it.
That's a
All
good
right.
job.
Thanks.
So good job, Etiana. She does a really good job sharing why we do what we do, and in a format of, again, when you have an idea, a word idea or words, she puts them into. Are you yawning?
You're tired.
Anyways, she puts it into pictures. Did you know they're opening a Chipotle right there?
No.
Panda.
You know, how about you exist for more, you're made for more, you're made for more. I mean, like, these
Oh
people
my
don't
gosh.
care about Chipotle.
Anyways. All right, guys. Well, remember, you exist for more.
We.
You're here to. We exist for more. We're here to offer more. Don't ever give up. Every single one of us is made for more. We'll talk to you guys later.
Don't forget about YouTube.
I'm so glad you said that
YouTube.
about Wednesday.
Peace.